Hello CraftDee Family, and welcome to another tutorial by She's So Crafty. For today's DIY projects, I've selected 10 of my favorite fall DIYs that I've created over the past year that are still so trendy for today's decor. Now these include a variety of home wall decor, as well as items for a table or a shelf in a fall theme. Now this compilation will have the step-by-step instructions for each project, also styling ideas that I've used for my space. Now all of the projects also have the original tutorial link in the complete supply list included in the description box, so you can easily use it for reference as you gather up your supplies. Now before we start, I have to say hey to all of my subscribers, and if you are a new visitor to my channel today, I hope you consider subscribing as well and stick around to enjoy these crafts and all the different ways that I'll show you how to style these in your space. So now let's just jump right into the projects. You're going to need one of these wood pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and this metal thankful word from the Dollar Tree. So we're going to start off with our wood pumpkin. Go ahead and remove all of those tags, and we are going to stain this with the Waverly Antique Wax. You can use some regular stain if you like, but I wanted to use the wax. I think it's quicker to dry and it would be perfect for this project. So you want to cover the complete front of the project. Once it's covered, take a dry paper towel and wipe off all of the excess. Now once that does completely dry, we're going to go ahead and grab our nautical rope, and before we add it, we want to make sure we put an oval in the middle because we want to identify 3 different sections of our pumpkin. So I'm going around with a pencil first and then outlining that pencil with a Sharpie so I have an idea of where to place my rope. So what I like to do is to take some clear tape and wrap it around my rope before I cut it. I think this just eliminates the fraying and has just a neater cut. So I'm just going to cut it on top of that tape, making sure that that end piece is intact, and add a little hot glue on there so it just does not fray. Now I like to start to add this to my pumpkin going around the outside first. So I'm going to start at the top, and I want that tip of the rope to kind of overlap into that center oval, but you do want to wrap it around one side at a time on the pumpkin. You just want to go around carefully, and then once you get to the other end where it meets that oval, wrap another piece of tape around there and then cut a nice clean edge as well. Add a little bit of hot glue to that end and then hot glue it down to your pumpkin. Now you will see that these tails kind of overlap that center oval, and this is important to make sure that they are hidden. Just repeat this for the other side as well. So we're going to trim down the rope again with our tape on it, and this time we're going to go just around the oval side. So add your hot glue, and our oval will be going over the pieces of rope that overlapped into the oval. So this oval shape will actually be sitting to the front of the pumpkin. So it kind of hides all of those loose ends, and it just gives it an overall neater appearance. So we're going to continue going around that oval shape until we meet at the other end. Add that final piece of clear tape, trim it down, and then just hot glue this in place. Now it doesn't have to be the most neat. We will be covering this with a floral embellishment, but this is what it looks like. So now I'm taking a couple of floral picks that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to arrange them in a way that looks really nice on the pumpkin. And to put these together, I'm just using a zip tie that I got from the Dollar Tree and zip tying them together. Now I am adding an additional little leafy stem in there just to give it a little bit more fullness, and I'm putting just the dot of hot glue in there, trimming it down, and also trimming down that zip tie. Now I didn't want to hot glue this to my pumpkin just in case I wanted to switch it out, so I'm taking a longer zip tie from the Dollar Tree and I'm kind of weaving it through the back so I can wrap it around the stem of the pumpkin to attach it. Now once everything is nice and even on the front, we can go ahead and clip off the excess of that zip tie. Now the final thing we want to add to the pumpkin is this metal thankful word, and I'm just going to hot glue this on top of the rope pieces one side at a time, just making sure that it's set nice and even. So now we're going to add a hanger to the back. Now I love using this black and white gingham ribbon. I think it just screams fall and looks so good with the orange colors. So I'm just going to hot glue each end to the back of the pumpkin until it loops around for a nice sturdy hanger. And now your pumpkin is ready to go. So now you can hang and display this in your home or even on your door. Now this adorable sign has a high-end look, but it was super easy to make with Dollar Tree supplies. And adding just little touches of florals and the little thankful word makes it really adorable. Now I think this would make such a sweet gift too. I hope you guys give this one a try. Now for this project, we'll need 2 circle wood pieces from Walmart for 97 cents. We'll also need a 7-inch piece of a 1 1/4 dowel, and I had this left over. And we'll need some 20mm or 16mm beads, and I got these from Amazon. Now we're going to start with removing all of the staples and labeling from those circle pieces. So I'm going to be going ahead and staining all of the wood pieces in this project. So once again, I'm protecting my work surface and gathering up all of my supplies. So I'm going to go ahead and stain those circle pieces first. I want to do both sides of the circles, and I want to make sure I get those edges very well. And then I'm going to go ahead and stain the surface of that dowel rod. There's no need to get the ends on this since they will not be shown in this project. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and stain all of those beads. Now, I used about 60 of the 20mm size, and they were fairly easy to stain just by rolling them in the rag a little bit. I noticed that after I stained, the insides didn't get stained very well, so I'm just taking a Q-tip right here and I'm staining the insides as well. And once that's done, you just sit these out to completely dry. All right, everything is dry, and now we are ready to build our tray. Now, I want to start by finding the centers of those circles, and I'm going to be marking that with a pencil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole where I've marked it, and I'm drilling this with a 3/32 bit, and I'm going to drill that first hole, and then I'm going to stack the other circle underneath, drill all the way through so both centers will be in the same place on each piece. And then I want to take my dowel rod, I want to mark the center of each end, and what I want to do is I want to drill a hole straight down the center of the rod on each end, and you want to make sure you hold your drill as straight as possible. So now that our hole drilling is done, we can go ahead and start to embellish our tray. So I'm going to take my 20mm wood beads, and I want to start placing them around the edge of each one of the circles, and I'm just going to be securing these with hot glue. And here are all of our beads on one of the trays. And we're just going to repeat this for a second tray. And this is what they'll look like. Now to secure everything together, we're going to be having that dowel rod in between the 2 trays. Now to secure everything together, I will be using 2 of these 1 3/4 wood screws for this project. So I'm going to be starting by placing 1 screw into the non-beaded side of one of the pieces, And I want to screw it in until it protrudes the other side about 1/4 of an inch. And once it does protrude a little bit, I'm just going to take that dowel rod and put it into that pilot hole, and I'm just going to start screwing it on by hand just to make sure it's going in nice and even. And then I'm taking my drill and securing it all of the way. And then once that's done, we're going to go ahead and take the top piece and we're going to add that. So I'm going to put a screw into the top side where the beads are, and I want to screw that in and get that started as well. And once that protrudes through, I'm going to hand crank it a little bit, then screw it in all the way with the drill. And now that everything is secured together, this is good to go. Check it for evenness, and now we can just decorate it and see how it looks. And here I have it on display. Now I just love these little pumpkins and florals at the Dollar Tree this year, and they really look great on this piece. Now the beading really turned out great too, and I'm super happy with it. And check it out, you could flip it over and use it the other way. This is completely reversible. I love it. There's so many ways you could decorate with this piece. Now we're going to be using a picture from the Farm Fresh 2022 calendar from the Dollar Tree, some wood letters from the Dollar Tree, this metal harvest word from the Dollar Tree, and a chalkboard sign from the Dollar Tree. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and start with our letters. And now the wood letters have 1 letter a piece, and we're going to spell out the word happy. Now I did have to cut the letter B to make a second P, and go ahead and grab your harvest sign as well. Now we will be painting these, and I chose to use some chalk paint for this, so I'm going to go ahead and apply one nice good coat on each one. Take a look at it, and I ended up going about 2 coats on each one. Now you do want to make sure that when you do apply your coats, you want them to dry completely in between. So while that's drying, go ahead and grab your calendar, and we're going to go ahead and select our image. Now I do love this truck full of pumpkins, so this is the one I will be using for this project today. Now what I'm going to do is I only want to use the truck portion, so I'm just going to cut off all of the excess around the truck, and then what I'm going to do is carefully trim out the truck. Now here is our truck all carefully trimmed out and ready to go. So now we're going to grab that chalkboard sign and remove the hang string, and we also want to remove that label from the back and give it a good clean. Now we're going to place all of our pieces on the chalkboard. We're going to put that truck in the middle, and our harvest sign will go right underneath it, and our wood letters will spell out happy right above the truck. Now I kind of wanted my happy to go at an arch, and when everything looks like you like it, we can start to adhere it to the board. Now I'm going to start with the truck, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a glue stick and just generously apply some glue to the back of the truck, and then carefully place it in the center of your board and spread it out. I like to use a dry paper towel to kind of rub it out on the surface. Now you definitely could use Mod Podge or any adhesive that you like, but the wood or the glue stick actually works really well for me. So then once that's done, we can go ahead and start applying all of our letters and words, and you just want to apply those with your hot glue or wood stick hot glue, whatever you choose to use. And now that happy's applied, we can apply our harvest word. I'm just going to apply a few dots of that hot glue along the back, and then carefully place it in the center underneath the truck. Now we did have those 2 holes from the string, so what I'm going to do is I cut some white beads in half with some wire clippers, and I'm just going to put 2 beads over those holes and then match the other side by putting 2 beads as well, and I'm just going to hot glue these in place, and these will just be a decorative accent and also cover those holes. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and grab some craft paper, and we are going to cut a piece to cover the back of the sign. I just think covering our projects on the back just makes it look so much professional. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to add a bead of hot glue around the back of the sign and put a big X in the middle, flip it over onto that craft paper and press it until it's sealed into place. Now once that's done, you want to make sure you have your cutting mat and your utility or X-Acto knife, and then cut off all of the excess craft paper. Now we are going to be hanging this, so I'm finding the center here, which is about 6 1/4 inches, and I want to cut a little rectangle out of the paper to add my hanger. You do want to make sure any hangers that you add to this, you add to the board and not directly to the paper. Now I am just repurposing this hanger that was on a Dollar Tree mirror that I used in a previous DIY, and I'm going to be hot gluing this to the back of my sign. So I'm just going to place that where I put my cutout area on, add some hot glue on the top, and then I'm just going to finish it off with another piece of craft paper just for cosmetic purposes. And now your sign is ready to hang. And here we have it. We have our sign all hung up, and it turned out awesome. Now I'm really loving the trucks in this calendar, and this one was perfect for this sign. You know, painting the letters white really makes them pop against the black, and I absolutely love how it looks. Be sure to let me know what you think of this project in the comments below. This project will need one of these buffalo check dish drying mats from the Dollar Tree. We'll need a black dish towel from the Dollar Tree. We'll need one placemat from the Dollar Tree, and we'll also need some fabric, and this piece is from Walmart. Now we'll be working with the towel and the drying mat first, so remove everything from the packaging. Now you want to take that dish towel and then lay the drying mat right on top. Now you want to make sure the side edges and the top edge is nice and aligned. And then just go ahead and clip it or pin it into place. Now this extra on the side will be used for an envelope closure, so all we'll need to do is trim off that bottom edge. Now once that's all trimmed, we can go ahead and sit our drying mat to the side, and I'm just going to cut and remove any tags from the dish towel. Now the outside edges of the towel are nice and finished, so we won't need a hem, which is great. So I'm just going to fold it in half evenly, and I want to cut the centerpiece down the center. Now SureBonder sent me this mini size glue gun to try out, and this is perfect for precise and detailed applications. Now I'll be making narrow lines like stitching edges, so this tool will be perfect for this project. Now it is high temperature and heats up super quick. Now they also sent me these fabric stitch sticks, which are hot glue especially formulated for fabric bonding. So I'm curious to try these out for the project today, and I'm going to let you know how it turns out. So now we want to lay out that drying mat face up, and then take one of the towel halves and lay it on the top, making sure that one of the finished seams is facing the center. Now our glue gun is nice and hot, but now we can also use a fabric tack as well if you do not want to use the hot glue. Now sewing is also an option. Now for this project, I will be using the hot glue that is for fabric, and now we're just going to run a line down the side and press the towel into place. And then we just want to repeat this on the other two outside edges. So now I'm going to take that second piece, and making sure that a finished edge is facing the center, I'm going to align it with the outside edge, and I'm going to repeat this glue process the same way, making sure I put it all the way around the outside edges. So now that everything is all adhered, I'm just going to let it cool, and we can start on our placemat pillow. Now these placemats have 2 layers that you can open and stuff and seal, but we'll be creating a removable cover for this project. So I'm just going to take some coordinating fabric, and you can choose any fabric of your choice, and I'm going to open it up and lay the placemat on top. Now I do want to make sure I leave about 6 inches extra at the end. Now once everything is nice and in place, just go ahead and apply your clips. And then what I want to do is I just want to cut off the excess at the bottom, just like we did with the towels. So now I want to take the fabric piece and I want to fold it in half and cut it down the center. Now, since this fabric does not have a finished edge or hem, we'll be double folding one of the ends and gluing it in place. Now, all we want to do is fold it under 1/4 of an inch and we just want to glue it down. And then once it's folded in and glued, we're just going to fold it one more time, 1/4 of an inch, and glue it into place again. And here is what it looks like, and we're just going to repeat this for the other piece. So now we're going to place down our placemat with it facing up, and I want to place that fabric print side down on the top, and we want to make sure that that finished folded edge is facing the center. And then I just want to continue to glue this in place just like we did our towels. Now once that first piece is done, we're just going to repeat this for the second side as well. And now that both pillows are glued into place, we can flip them right side out and see how our work turned out. Now everything is looking good. I'm pulling, I'm tugging, the glue seems to be holding up pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with the bond. Now let's check out our second cover. Now this one appears to be nice and sturdy as well. Let's do a couple pulls and tugs and make sure everything is good to go. Yep, everything's holding up. Very impressive. So now I will use these perfect size pillows that I created from a standard pillow, and what I'm going to do is link the directions on how I did this in the upper right hand corner of this video, and I'll also link it in the description box below. And now all I'm going to do is place a pillow into each one of the pillow covers that I have created. Perfect fit. And everything is good to go. And now you can take your pillows and place them in a cozy location in your home to enjoy. Now these were super easy to make, and I love that the covers are removable so we don't have a zillion pillows to store after each holiday season. Now this glue is machine washable and hang to dry, so it's perfect for low maintenance and you can keep your space fresh and clean. I hope you guys give this a try. They're super easy and fun to make. Now we're going to start with half of a 1x4 that I had left over from a previous project, but it can be purchased from the Home Depot for about $3.48 for a full 8-foot piece. Now what I'm going to do is have the pieces cut and have 3 pieces at 14 inches and 2 pieces at 3 inches. Now you could also use 3 of the Dollar Tree crates for this project as well. So I'm going to grab up all of my cut wood pieces and I'm going to start to assemble my box, and I'm going to grab those 3 14-inch pieces and form the bottom and the sides, and then slide those 3-inch pieces at each end to form the 2 ends. Now to bond these together, I will be using my wood stick hot glue just to temporarily hold it in place until I can screw the pieces together. You just want to apply a generous layer of that wood stick hot glue along the edge of that bottom piece and place that side piece against and hold it for about 10 seconds until it bonds, and then you want to repeat that for the other side as well. Now while the pieces are still warm, we are going to slide in those 3-inch pieces on each end. You want to add hot glue to the bottom and the sides of those 3-inch pieces and just slide it in at the end, making sure those edges line up. Now once you repeat this for the other side, you have one completed box. Now I will be drilling pilot holes to screw these all together, and I'm going to be using a 3/32 inch drill bit. Now you want to drill 1 hole in each corner on the front and the back of the box as shown here. And once you do that, we're going to use some number 6 1 1/4 inch wood screws to secure it into place. So I'm just going to hand screw that screw into one of the pilot holes, and then you want to carefully drill that screw right into place, being careful not to over tighten it. Now you want to repeat this for all 4 of your holes, just carefully screwing them into place. Now here are all of our screws into place. You'll have 4 on the front and 4 in the back. Now you can choose to cover or spackle these if you want to, but since this is a rustic project, I don't mind them showing through the paint in this project. Speaking of paint, we are ready to do that to our box, and we are going to be using some white chalk paint for our centerpiece box. Now I'm going to start by adding a generous layer on the inside. I just want to cover the bottom and the sides really well. Now once the inside is all covered as shown here, you want to do the entire outside, including the bottom of the box, and allow it to dry. Now here is your box all dry, and you're ready to move to the next step, which is adding some cute little feet as shown here. Now I picked these up from Amazon. They came in an antique finish, but I spray painted them with Crayon satin spray paint. Now I'll link in the description box where to find these feet on Amazon below. Now we're going to add one to each corner, so just take a little piece of sandpaper and just gently sand each corner just to improve the bond a little better. Now these do come with little screw holes, but I will be adding my wood stick hot glue on these to adhere them in place. This is a lightweight project, so this hot glue will definitely hold these feet without a problem. Now here are all the feet in place on our box. Now I wanted to add a little bit of distressing, so I'm going to use some of this acrylic black paint. And to add the distressing, I am going to use a craft stick. Now I've done this before in one of my projects. It's just so fun and easy to use, and I love it. You just add some of that acrylic paint to the side of the craft stick and drag that craft stick along the edges, and I think it gives the perfect distress marks all over your box. And I'm going to do this on the outside edges and also the inside edges, and here is what the finished product will look like. Now you want to allow this to completely dry. Here is your box all ready to go, and now you can add any of your fall florals. I'm going to be adding some lamb's ear. I'm also going to be using a candle holder and some assorted candles. You could use those, and also you could just add a votive holder if you like. Now put those all in the box according to how you want to arrange it, and now you can place it on display. And here is my beautiful centerpiece, you guys. I absolutely love it. Now these flowers from the Dollar Tree are so gorgeous this year, and I love how they blend with the lamb's ear in this arrangement. And these cute little feet just give it more of an upscale look too. I also added a string of wood beads too as an accent, and they look perfect. You all have to definitely let me know, how would you decorate this centerpiece box in your space? I really hope that you all are enjoying these crafts so far, but I wanted to pop in really quick and let you all know that you could follow me on all of these platforms as She Sew CraftDee. So now let's jump right into that next DIY. These pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. Now I picked this one up last year, but as you can see, they are out again this year too, and this is the new style. Now I'm also going to use a page from the new 2022 Farm Fresh calendar for this project, but you can use any calendar image that you like. And I'll need a couple of fall picks from the Dollar Tree. Okay, we're going to start by grabbing our piece, and we're going to lay out a piece of paper because we will be painting this top piece. So what I wanted to do is kind of mute this metal piece on top instead of ripping it off. So what I'm going to do is paint over the top of it with some black acrylic paint. Now we're just going to add one nice layer. We don't have to be perfect with it because I will be showing it, but I didn't want that shiny reflective metal showing through the accent that I'll place on top. So we're just going to put one coat on there and let it dry. Now once that does dry, what we're going to do is grab our calendar. Now these calendars have some awesome truck pictures, but I was looking more for the fall pictures. So the October and November pictures are awesome, but I absolutely love this November black truck. I thought it would be perfect for this project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay that truck picture right on top, and once I think it's nice and center, I'm just going to rub my fingers along the edge so I can kind of get the outline transferred over to the calendar image. Now once we do that, I'm going to take this glue stick and I am going to go over this whole, all four of those slats actually, with the glue stick all over. I decided to do it this way instead of Mod Podge because Mod Podge really does cause a lot of these to wrinkle, and I think the glue stick works so well and prevents a lot of that annoying wrinkling. So once you place it on top and match up your lines, I'm just going to smooth it out with my hand, and I'm going to take a balled up dry paper towel and just continue rubbing the image until it's nice and bonded, and I think this helped reduce any kind of wrinkling that happened to try to appear in my project. So once it's nice and bonded, I'm going to take my utility knife and I'm going to trim around the edge, trimming off all of the excess image of the calendar sheet that I have here. And now that that's removed, I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to remove that top flap, making sure you don't cut all the way through and disconnect it from the top piece, just trimming off that top edge. And then flipping it over to the back, we're going to carefully go along with our utility knife and cut out the gaps between the slaps with a X-Acto knife or utility knife, and then remove those carefully. Now once those are all removed, you can flip it over to see if you missed any spots and do any last minute cleanup. And so here is our truck image all nice and transferred, and it looks great. So now that that's done, we're going to add some accents, and I'm going to use some of these floral picks that I got from the Dollar Tree. They have some great floral picks in stock right now. So I'm trimming about 2 inches off each edge and kind of just bunching them together as shown here, really easy. Once the bunch looks good, I'm flipping the whole thing over. I'm adding a generous amount of hot glue to the back and placing it right on top of that black portion that we just painted, and we want to make sure it's nice and center. Now, as an additional upgrade, I wanted to replace the hang string with this buffalo check ribbon. I just think that the buffalo check really looks good along with the image. So I'm going to tape it in the same, or actually hot glue it into the same place that the other band was in, and I'm going to trim off the other band, just being careful not to cut any of those staples. And now just flip your piece over. You've got your buffalo check hang piece, your florals, and your truck, and it looks great. And here is the final finished hanging wall piece, and it looks fantastic. Now I love how all these elements came together in this piece, and this truck is just so perfect for this sign. Now for this project, we'll start with 2 of these house frames from the Dollar Tree and a sheet of this blue gingham, which is printable, provided in the description box below. Now we will be adding the blue gingham print to the inside of each frame, so instead of trying to fit the print inside the frame, I'm going to remove the backing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my X-Acto knife along the inside of the frame and then just simply press the backing out. And then I'm going to repeat this for the other frame. And once frames are removed, we can set those to the side. So now what I want to do is I want to trace those backing shapes out of that gingham sheet that was printed out on cardstock. And then to cut these out, I'm going to use a ruler and my X-Acto knife, but you will use scissors if you like. So now that you have your 2 shapes, you can adhere them to the backboards. And to do this, I'm simply going to run a bead of hot glue around the edge and then press that gingham sheet into place. And then we just do this for the second one. And now that both backboards are covered, we can add those frames on top. We're just going to run a bead of hot glue around the frame and then take that backing and press it into place. So now I decided at the last minute that I actually wanted to paint the frame. So now if you decide to do this, it's a good idea to paint these before gluing those backs on. So I will be painting these in that same cobalt blue acrylic paint. So I'm going to start by painting the exterior of the frame. And then I'm going to paint that front edge of the frame. And here is the frame fully painted. Now we're going to just repeat this for that second frame. And then once it's dry, we can start to embellish our houses. Now I will be using these 2-pack of battery votives. I'll be using 4 tumbling blocks with one of them cut 1/3 off. I'll also be using some small florals and greenery. I'll also use some of these wood branch pieces from the Dollar Tree. And for a cover, I'm going to be using this blue portion of this placemat. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take those votives and I want to place one at the peak of each house upside down. And then I'm going to grab those tower blocks and I want to place them in alignment with the bottom of that candle, supporting the edge. And once they're in a place where they can support that candle, go ahead and hot glue those pieces into place. And once both candles are nice and secure and can be removed, go ahead and take those out. And I'm going to apply a piece of painter's tape to the sides of the frame as a guide where the bottom edge of those blocks are. And then I'm going to grab that placemat, and what I want to do is I want to trace the top of those houses and making the bottom edge match up with those tape marks. Now, you can certainly do this with the house opening facing upwards where you can see the bottom of the blocks too. And once your outlines are made, go ahead and cut those out. Now once your pieces are cut out, we're going to mark that bottom edge and we're going to make a straight line with our ruler to make sure we're nice and straight on the trim. So now that we have our 2 pieces, we can go ahead and remove that tape and we're going to test fit our pieces. So I'm going to take my candles, I'm going to put my candles inside, and I do want to make sure that those covers fit while the candles are inside of the house. And it's at that point where you can make any final adjustments for the perfect fit. Now to make this top portion removable for candle access, we can use these Velcro dots or magnet buttons. Now I'm going to go with the magnet buttons for this project, and they come in a 6 2-piece sets in a package. So I'm going to start by hot gluing one of those double stacked magnets at the top peak. And then I'm going to apply one on each side. You want to make sure they're in alignment with where those tumbling blocks are. Now we want to make sure that the magnet is overlapping on the inside of the house and not the outside. Now once all of our magnets are nice and in place, we're going to apply a dot of that hot glue on top of the magnet while it's still in place, and then secure the covers on top. Now this will bond the top magnet to that cover sheet. So now we can start adding our flowers and greenery to our house. Now I'm going to start by just trimming down the stems so the pieces do not go above those top covers. Now I found that it was easier to work with if I removed the flowers while I placed in those stems. And then once I decide the placement, just apply hot glue to those stems and adhere those to the backboard inside the frame. And then you're just going to repeat this for any additional flower stems or pieces that you want to add. And then once all your stems are in, you can glue those flowers back in. Now as a final touch, we can trim out the bottom with these wood stems that are from the Dollar Tree. Now once they're just put into place, we could just glue them to secure them in place. And here's everything in place. Now just remove those candle covers and we can turn on those lights and see how everything looks. And now you can place your lighted houses on display. Now I think these are super cute. Now you can decorate these on the inside however you like and enjoy that soft flickering glow of the candles. Now I think you could design this with a faux fireplace or even a Halloween theme with lightning. I mean, how cool would that be? And you could even add a faux shutter to the cover piece. I mean, there's so many things you could do. Now the possibilities are endless with these houses, and I hope you have fun creating your version. Using a scrap 24-inch piece of a 1x4 I had left over, and you can get these at the Home Depot. I also need one 5-gallon paint stir stick, and I'll need some wood letters from the Dollar Tree. So what I'm going to do is I am going to cut my pieces down. I'm going to cut one piece at 7 inches, one piece at 8 inches, and a third piece at 9 inches. Now after I cut that length of wood, I went back and I cut the tops into a point as shown here, just by cutting them at an angle. So now that we have the wood pieces cut, we're going to grab that one 5-gallon stir stick, and we're going to use this piece to actually be the base so these houses will stand upright. So I'm just measuring the length of the bottom of the houses, and I'm going to grab my miter box to cut these. Since this is a fairly small job, I'm going to go ahead and just cut those pieces down to size with my miter box. And now that we have that piece, we can fit that on the bottom of each one of the house. We're going to repeat this 2 more times, so we'll have one for each house. So now we can apply it to the bottom of the house, and in order to do this, I am going to be using my Surebonder wood stick hot glue. Just run a line along the bottom and place that stick right down the center of the bottom, and just repeat this for all 3 of your houses. Now once they're all adhered, we are going to reinforce that attachment with our staple gun. So I'm just going to put 2 staples into the bottom of the stand for all 3 houses. So now that they're all together, we can go ahead and paint these. Now I'm going to be using a red and green and an orange color, and I'll put the colors in the description box. And I just want to add some to my palette here that I will be working with. Now I'm also going to be using a black color as well. Now I'll be using the black to tint those colors to mute them a little more. Now what I want to do is take my main color and just put a dot of the black in there. Now I did put too much black in my orange, so I am going to start over on that color. So I'm adding orange again and just putting the slightest bit of black, and you see I just wanted a slight tint to mute the brightness of the color. So then I'm just going to paint that orange onto one of the houses, and I want to cover the entire front and sides of the house as shown here. Now for the next one, we are going to do the greenhouse. So again, I'm going to lightly tint that green and blend it in, and then I want to paint one of my houses green. Then for the last house, I wanted it to be like a brick red, so I tinted that red a little bit, and I'm going to paint that last house this red color. And now you just allow these to completely dry. So now that my houses are dry, this is the fun part, we can now decorate them. So I'm going to be using these large craft sticks that I got from Lowe's for 98 cents and then stain them with some Waverly Antique Wax. Now I've already had some on hand that were already stained, so I'm just going to go ahead and start adding them to my houses. Now this will act as the roof for my house, so I'm going to lay it on top as shown here and mark those edges and then trim them down to fit the top edge of the house where it is arched as shown. So our pencil marks will transfer to our sticks and just lay them in place. Now once we have that first piece cut, we're going to go ahead and adhere it with our hot glue. Go ahead and adhere it to the top of the house as shown here, and then for the second part of the roof trim, we just take that same piece and it's cut at the perfect angle on one side to fit, so just trim that other side down and then cut that, and we should be able to fit that right in place. Now we're just going to check the measurements, everything looks good, and we could adhere it right next to it. And there you go, one of the tops of our houses are done, and we're going to repeat this for our other two houses as shown here. So now what I want to do is add some lettering to my houses. So I have these wood letters and I want to spell out autumn. Now I had to use 2 packs because I used 2 letter U's. And what I wanted them to look like is aluminum. So I'm going to spray paint them with some brilliant aluminum spray paint as shown here. And here is what they look like. So now they kind of look like metal. Now I did want to mute this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this really dark rustic red color. And I'm going to actually just dab it on the corners and edges of some of the letters to make it look like the letters are kind of rustic. I love to do this to my metal pieces. It just gives it so much character. So now what I want to do is take those letters and I want to lay them across the houses, putting 2 letters on each house, and just make sure they're in the right place the way I like them. Now once they are, we can go ahead and hot glue all those letters down across the houses. So once those are nice and adhered, we can add some more accents how we like. So the next thing I wanted to do was tie some jute twine around the bottom. So I'm kind of just making this up as I go, just having fun with this project. And I think jute twine, it just looks so rustic, and I love, love, love the way it looks on projects, especially wood. So I just wrapped 3 or 4 rounds around the bottom of each house, and I'm going to hot glue the tails in the back. And this is what it looks like, and we're just going to repeat this for the remaining of the houses. And here they all are. Now for the final touch, I'm going to use some of these fall leaves that I also picked up from the Dollar Tree. I'm just going to pick about 3 of the different colored leaves and kind of bundle them together. And I wanted to put them right at the top center of the house just to give it a little bit of that autumn fall flair. So I'm just going to stack 3 together and hot glue them all into place as shown on each one of the houses. Now once those are all in place, I wanted to accent the top of them. I was looking for mini pine cones, but I couldn't find any. So what I'm going to do is just top it off with this wonderful buffalo check ribbon. I mean, what would fall be without a little buffalo check? So I'm just going to tie a little tiny ribbon, and once I get that ribbon all tied and the edges nice and trimmed, I'm going to place it right in the center of that leaf bundle, and I'm going to make one for each one of the tops of the houses and then hot glue them in place. And once those are all in place, you are ready to decorate with your piece. And here they are. Now you can sit these out and place them on display. Now I'm so in love with these seasonal colors in this piece. And the metallic letters really turned out great too. Now you just add any accent or decor that you love for this piece and make it your own. There are so many possibilities with these little houses. Alright, so here's the inspiration photo for this project. Now, being a little obsessed with buffalo check, this kind of stood out to me and I immediately fell in love with the design. It's so easy to make with Dollar Tree items as well, so that is a win-win in my book. Now for this project, we'll need 1 package of these tumbling blocks from the Dollar Tree in any color. We'll need 2 packs of these wood pumpkins, but if you're only able to find one like me, you'll be making your own from Dollar Tree poster board. You'll also need a piece of foam board from the Dollar Tree, and also need a scrap piece of fabric or scrapbook paper. So we're going to first start by laying out a grid mat, and we want to grab those tumbling blocks and unpackage them. So we'll be making a frame out of these, and what we're going to do is arrange them. So the top and bottom pieces of the frame will be 15 blocks long, and each side of the frame will be 3 blocks long. So now I'm just quickly organizing my pieces so I can prepare to bond them. So we're first going to go ahead and build the sides of the frame, and I'll be using hot glue. Now I usually use wood glue for these types of projects, but since we'll be adhering the frame to a board, it'll end up pretty sturdy. Now you want to use your grid mat as a guide when gluing the blocks together because you want them to be straight as possible. And now that the short pieces are done, we can start working on the longer pieces. Now I will bond the blocks in groups of 7 and 8. And now I'm just going to secure those one group of 7 and one group of 8 together to make the full 15. I'll just bond those sticks together. And once the top of the bottom of the frame are completed, we can insert those 3-piece sides inserted between the 2 long sticks at the end. And here is the frame fully assembled. So now I'm just going to grab that piece of foam board, and what I want to do is lay the frame right on top of that foam board. Now what I want to do is take a pencil and trace the outside shape of that foam board of the frame onto the foam board. And then using a ruler, I want to make sure I cut that frame out of that foam board with an X-Acto knife because you want it to be as straight as possible. And now that my piece is cut out, I just want to shave off about 1/8 of the inch of the board so it won't peek out from the side of the frame. And now, once everything is in place, go ahead and mark arrows on the frame and on your board to make sure when you glue them into place, they're lined up properly. So now we can go ahead and prepare our frame for painting, and I will be using this black acrylic paint to paint my frame. So all we'll do is we'll paint the front and the sides of the frame with one nice coat of that paint. And then once it's all covered, you just set it to the side to fully dry. So now while that dries, we can work on our pumpkins. So like I mentioned earlier, I was only able to find one package of these pumpkins, so I'll be using one of these as a template for my project. So I'm just going to grab my poster board and I'm going to turn it where the matte side is facing up. So I'm just going to take one of those pumpkins and I'm going to trace it onto the board. Now we'll need a total of 9 pumpkins, but I will make just a few more just in case I make an error. And here are all of my pumpkins traced on, so I can then cut off all of that excess poster board. Now to paint these, I'm going to flip my poster board to the glossy side up, and again I'm going to be using this beautiful Harvest Orange acrylic paint to paint them. Now I want to start by applying one coat of this paint. Now don't mind the streaking and variation of color, this adds character to our pumpkins. So now that the first coat has dried, we're going to go ahead and add a second coat right on top. And now that it's fully dry, I am really loving this texture and it would look great on all of my pumpkins. So now that it's dry, you could cut out all your pumpkins. You can use scissors, or I chose to use an X-Acto knife. And here are all of your pumpkins ready to go. Now I'm going to be starting to add letters, but hold on, I should have added the texture and the highlight first, but you'll see me add it in later when I remember. So I am just going to proceed with using a chalk pen, but you can use a paint pen or actual paint to write your lettering. Now I'll be spelling out Happy Fall on 9 pumpkins. Now once they dry, we can embellish the pumpkins, and I'll be using some raffia to make tiny bows as seen in our inspiration piece. And once we have all of our bows made, we could just glue one bow to each one of the stems of the pumpkins. So now that those are all done, we can assemble our frame. So I'm going to grab my foam board and I'm going to grab that cutout piece of scrap fabric. So then what I want to do is apply hot glue around the edge of that foam board, and what I'm going to do is flip it over and apply it to that fabric piece. And then once it's on there, I want to go around and seal all of the edges with additional hot glue. And then once everything is dry, you just want to trim off all of that excess fabric. Now that everything is nice and trimmed up, we can add our frame to the board. So once you figure out the placement and everything is good to go ahead and remove your foam, and you want to apply some hot glue to the back of that frame. And then just press that fabric covered board right on top. Then just flip it over, make sure everything is in alignment and good to go. So now we can add our letters, and I'm just going to lay them out in the frame, and I want to space them out evenly. Now once everything looks good, what we're going to do is carefully apply hot glue to the pieces by lifting up the edge and secure them into place. So meanwhile, while I'm doing this, I'm chatting away on Skype and phone and not paying attention, but here is where I remember, hey, where's my contour? So this is where I will start applying it to each of the pumpkins. So now I'll use a combination of this white acrylic paint, that Harvest Orange acrylic paint, and some brown acrylic paint. And I'll be blending these together and randomly applying them to the pumpkins to make the contours. And here is what they will look like when they're all finished. Now to hang this, just flip that frame over, and I'm going to hot glue a piece of jute twine to the center. Now what I did is cut a piece and tied knots on each end so it'll grab onto that hot glue. And then once that dries, we can hang our piece. And here it is. Oh my goodness, how fun and festive is this piece? I just absolutely love it. Now I wasn't lucky enough to find enough wood pumpkins, but the poster board turned out great. Now we're going to need 4 of these small mason jars. Now you can get these at the Dollar Tree for $1 each, or buy the case a lot cheaper at Walmart. Now we're also going to start with using some adhesive pearl bead wrap as well. So I'm going to take all 4 of my mason jars. Now I've cleaned the outside of these already, and so I'm going ahead and removing the lids. And then I'm going to take my adhesive pearl wrap, and what I'm going to do is take out that sheet, and what I'm going to do is cut these into strips. Now I believe that Dollar Tree already has beaded strips, and I couldn't find those, and I already had these on hand, so I'm just going to cut the strips from this beaded sheet. Now I will be cutting out 8 strips from this. Now once all 8 strips are cut, I'm going to apply a strip at the bottom and at the top of each jar, about a 1/2 of an inch from the bottom and a 1/2 of an inch from the top threads. You want to remove that adhesive backing and then place that beaded strip along the bottom as straight as possible. You can definitely mark it if you need to get it absolutely straight, but I kind of eyeballed it and it turned out pretty good, but this is what it would look like when you start to add them along. Now once you repeat this for the top, this is what both strips will look like, and what you want to do is repeat this for all of your jars. And now all of our jars have that beaded trim on the top and bottom. Now what I want to do now is take it out to give it 2 coats of this satin bright white spray paint by Krylon. You can use any that you like. You just want to make sure that it's formulated for glass as shown here. Now here are my jars all nice and dry, and now we're ready to move on to the next step. Now I'm going to be taking some of this Dollar Tree jute twine, and I'm going to start wrapping it around the threaded edge of the jar. I'm just going to put several rounds in, starting by adhering one end at the bottom of the thread and just wrapping it around, overlapping the pieces, just giving it kind of a rustic look. And then once you wrap it around and all the threads are just about covered, you want to hot glue the ends in place, and you want to repeat this for all of your jars. Now this is a piece of faux galvanized metal sheeting that I made from Dollar Tree poster board and spray paint. Now I wanted metal looking tags for this project, and this method would be perfect for that. Now I will link the quick demo on how to do this in the upper right hand corner of this video, and also in the description box below. So what we want to do is flip it over to the white side and take our compass, and I want to make some circles about 2 inches wide. This will fit perfectly on the front of my jars, and I want to make 4 of those circles. Then take your scissors, and I want to cut each one of those circles out. Now that we have our first circles, we're going to grab some letters from the Dollar Tree. Now I wanted my circles to say fall, so I'm going to put fall on the center front of all of the galvanized side of my poster board pieces. Now to hang these, I will be using my jute twine, so I'm cutting a very long piece, and then I'm going to halve it and then tie a little knot at the end with a little loop as shown here. Now you want to do this 4 times. Now I did decide at the last minute I wanted to add a few beads to my string, so each one of the 2 strings on each one of those hang pieces will get a bead. And this is what they will look like. Now you want to repeat this for all 4, and here they are all done. So now we can start adding our tags. So the tag will actually be attached with that little loop that we left at the end of our tie. So I'm just going to hot glue that in place, and there it would hang nice and even. And now all of our letters are hanging on our beaded strings, and we can start working on our mason jars. Now, I wanted to cover the center of the mason jars with this burlap ribbon that I got from the Dollar Tree. You just want to cut a pieces about 1 inch longer than needed, and then to apply it, we're just going to add it to the jar with hot glue. You just want to make sure you have 4 total strips ready to go. Now we are going to take one of those ribbon, and then we want to fold the end in about 1/2 inch because we want the finished edge to be folded. Now once we wrap it around, we want to make sure that that folded edge is on the outside of that connection point. Just add some hot glue and press it into place, and it just gives it a nice neat finish. You do want to make sure that your connection point is on the back of your jars. Now here are all of my jars with that burlap ribbon in place. So now that we've done that, we can start to add our hang ties. So I added the hang tie at first and just testing it out and see how it looked. Now it wasn't hanging quite like I wanted to, so what I did is tie another knot above the 2 beads that I just added. Now once I did add that knot on top and retied it, I loved the way it hung then, so I decided to do that for all of my strands, and this is what one of them looks like. And here are all of my jars with all of their strings attached. So now's the fun part, we can decorate. So I am using that lamb ear and pastel bundle. I love, love, love these flowers this year. So I am adding one of these bundles to each one of my jars. And this is what one of them will look like, and now we can place them on display. And here you have it, a beautiful set of decorative fall floral pieces for your space. Now as you can see, I'm really loving this colorway and it looks really amazing on display. And I also love staggering them as well. It just gives them more visual appeal. Now all of these projects today were so easy to make and they make great gifts as well. Now I do hope you give them a try. I have to say I love all the projects, but you guys have to let me know which one of these DIYs today was your favorite. Let me know in the comments below. Listen, I hope that you all enjoyed seeing these creations again, or for some of you, for the very first time. I hope that you all are inspired to create your own home decor using the fall decor ideas presented in this video. Now, if you love DIYs on a budget, please give this video a thumbs up and share this video with your friends. Make sure that you're following She's So CraftDee on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest for the latest news, sneak peeks, and giveaways. Now, if you like videos like these and you don't want to miss the next one, make sure you're subscribed by clicking that subscribe button below, or just click on my She's So Crafty logo on your screen to make sure you hit that bell to be notified when the next DIY goes live. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.